Lesson 3.2, we're going to use parallel lines specifically and transversals. So we're going to look at the angles formed by parallel lines and transversals. The first one is corresponding angles. And if you recall, corresponding angles are those angles formed from two lines cut by transversal that are in the same position. Well, when the lines are parallel, corresponding angles are congruent. Okay, so we're going to identify congruent angles. The measure of three of the numbered angles is 120 degrees. Identify the angles. So the first thing that we can do is look at our corresponding angles, which is corresponding to the 120 would be angle number 5. So the measure of angle 5 equals 120. Corresponding angles congruent. And if we look at the 120 degree angle, angle 4 would also be 120 because it's a vertical angle to the 120 degrees. And then the same case, or even saying corresponding to 8 or to 4 would be 8. So you could do two things there. Either it's vertical angles congruent or corresponding angles congruent. The next one we have is alternate interior. Alternate interior angles are congruent. Alternate exterior angles are congruent. So we have three pairs that are congruent: corresponding, alternate interior, alternate exterior. But when we come to consecutive interior, which are those same sides, consecutive interiors are supplementary. That means they'll add up to 180. So we're going to use those properties and find the value of x. Well, the first thing we can do is find the measure of angle 4, which is 115, because the vertical angle is congruent. And then we know that x plus 5 plus 115 equals 180. So we have consecutive interiors are supplementary. So we solve that. We get x plus 120 equals 180. So x equals 60. So you pause the video and do the guided practice. Basically, in the first one, you're going to fill in all the angles based on the theorems and postulates on the prior page. And then, for number 2, if the measure of angle 3 is 68, the measure of 8 is 2x plus 4, what is the value of x? So pause the video and try those. Then restart and check your answers. Oh, it only wants 4, 5, and 8, so I can actually get rid of these. Okay, we're going to do a proof. We're going to prove the alternate interior angles theorem. So first thing, we're going to look at our given and find it. It's the first statement. So the first reason is given. Angle 1 is congruent to 3, so that would be corresponding angles congruent. 3 is congruent to 2, is vertical angles congruent. And then I need the prior two statements in order to say 1 is congruent to 3, or 1 is congruent to 2, sorry. So that is transitive property of congruence. In the next example, we're just looking at a real-world problem. Sunlight enters a drop of rain. Different colors of light leave the drop at different angles. This process is what makes a rainbow. For violet light, the measure of angle 2 is 40 degrees. What is the measure of angle 1? Well, if you look, we have parallel lines cut by transversal, and these are alternate interior angles. Alternate angles are congruent. So the measure of angle 1 equals the measure of angle 2. So the measure of angle 1 is 40 degrees. Go ahead and try the guided practice, 2 questions. Again, pause the video and then restart and check your answers. Okay, so hopefully you were able to get those answers. Let's close them. How are corresponding angles and alternate interior angles related for 2 parallel lines and a transversal? Corresponding angles are congruent, and alternate interior angles are congruent. And that ends the lesson.